The Miyoo Mini Plus is cozy, affordable, and powerful. It is my gnarly retro gaming secret weapon. Joystick. Kitty here demanded that I divulge the retro gaming secret weapon that I've been holding back until now. The awesome portable retro video game system that I can't live without, the Miyoo Mini Plus. The Miyoo Mini Plus is a compact, uber affordable $66 Linux-based handheld emulator device that can play a ridiculous amount of video games. And it gets even better when you upgrade it with the easy-to-use and super powerful Onion OS. It is my retro gaming secret weapon because it's small enough for me to throw into any pocket and no one is going to know that I'm carrying thousands upon thousands of retro video games that I can play at any given time. It can play almost everything from the Atari 2600 up to the Sony PlayStation, as well as a ton of arcade games and every portable cartridge game system. It is not the first handheld Linux-based emulator system, and it's not the most powerful. It's the one that I keep coming back to. 'Tis the bomb diggity. So, if I want to play Virtua Fighter on the 32X, or Sonic CD, or Snatcher on the Sega CD, or even Ninja Princess on the SG-1000, and then finish it off with some Gates of Thunder on the TurboGrafx CD, I can. I can sit in a coffee shop and play All Night Nippon Super Mario Bros. For the Famicom Disk System before switching to Strider Arcade, and no one's gonna know that you're packing that kind of retro video gaming awesomeness. Say I want to play Yamato for SG-1000, or Star Fox 2 on the Super Nintendo, or even Tekken 3 on the PlayStation, you totally can quickly and easily. Chase Jarvis said, "The best camera is the one that you have with you." That can also be said about portable retro video games. The Miyoo Mini Plus is perfect for your instant gratification craving squirrel brain firing up some random impulse to play an obscure Neo Geo arcade game. It's going to be okay because you can have your Miyoo Mini Plus and you can play it and scratch that itch. You will never know when Waku Waku 7 is going to strike a fancy. Before I go on to review the Miyoo Mini Plus, Guy here wanted to encourage you to subscribe to this channel since we make videos like this each week. We're doing our best to make good ones, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. It is wee, stylish, and compact, but it won't cramp your hands. It is just the right size, and it's also as sturdy as a tank. Its rounded plastic body can actually take a drop or two. At $66, it's cheap enough that you can have it with you without the fear of breaking it, but it does come with a screen protector. Now, there's no cartridge slot on the Miyoo Mini Plus, and that is by deliberate design. The Miyoo Mini Plus is all about playing ROM images off an SD card in software emulators. For some, that is a plus, and for some, that is a negative. I already have original and modded Game Boy hardware and my analog pocket for that cartridge playing special need. So the Miyoo Mini Plus is a perfect supplement for a ROM and software-based super portable gaming experience. The Miyoo Mini Plus is the synergistic legacy of Chinese video game hardware manufacturers getting really good at making excellent, affordable, efficient hardware, and American open source developers getting very, very good at tweaking decades-long legacy of emulator software on Linux into an incredibly well-done, very user-friendly package called Onion OS. It's not every day that I use user-friendly and Linux in the same sentence. Design-wise, the Miyoo Mini Plus takes a lot of inspiration from the original Game Boy DMG for sure, but it's about a third the mass and has a larger screen, and it's a lot thinner. It actually feels closest to the Game Boy Pocket in layout and feel. This is not the first handheld that the company has made, and their previous experience shows off. It actually has a pretty darn good modern 3.5-inch IPS LCD screen that boasts a resolution of 640 by 480 pixels. It is a very high quality screen and has a 3:4 aspect ratio and a resolution that mirrors NTSC CRTs. At 640 by 480, it can have 240p games at 2x integer scale. It is a perfect resolution and has the aspect ratio to play Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, and PlayStation 1 games perfectly. Original Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games are centered with black bars, but they still look pretty decent. But as a retro gamer, I am definitely stoked about the 4:3 aspect ratio. There's also not a lot of bezels, and the screen goes pretty close to the edge of the unit. The refresh rate, viewing angles, and brightness is excellent, especially considering its super affordable price point. It has a very Nintendo-like D-pad with a concave circle in the middle and arrows. The start and select buttons are towards the bottom of the unit, and there is a centered recessed menu button in the middle. On the right, there is a Super Famicom style arrangement of A, B, and XY convex buttons. Everything has a Nintendo style rubber membrane and feels appropriately clicky and responsive. There is a single speaker on the bottom right that does the job. There is also an internal rumble motor, however, there's no analog stick, so you can't play PlayStation 1 games that require dual analog sticks. On the back, there are 4 clicky shoulder buttons shaped almost like triggers about halfway down the unit. I also dig that the inner L2 and R2 buttons are at a different height than the L1 and R1 buttons. I also like that you can stand it on its end and it will also lie flat on a table. The sides and back have some grills for grips, and there's a power button on the top and a transparent LED indicator showing you the power status. On the bottom, there is a 3.5mm headphone jack and the single micro SD card slot that can support cards up to 128 gigabytes and a USB-C charging port. On the left-hand side, there is a volume up and volume down rocker instead of a volume wheel. There is a big, easily user-replaceable battery in the same location as the Game Boy, and it gives it a very Game Boy-like weight and feel in your hand. The Miyoo Mini easily fits into your pocket without looking weird. And it is still small enough to slip into any pocket, including your pants, but it is big enough that you can play it for a long time without your hands cramping or it being too hard on your eyes. I really think that this is the perfect size and form factor from what I want in a portable emulator. The Miyoo Mini Plus is an alternative to the Miyoo Mini version 4, but with a larger screen, better battery, more comfortable size for larger hands, better shoulder buttons, and built-in Wi-Fi that means you're always going to have the latest and greatest version of the Onion OS software, which is undergoing constant improvement. The Miyoo Mini Plus is a sweet masterpiece recipe of hardware and software coming together. I'm amazed just how much retro game performance they can squeeze out of the just 128 megabytes of RAM, Linux, and the included Cortex A7 1.2 GHz processor. The specs are actually pretty modest, so it is very impressive that it can run all the stuff that it can, as well as the hardware can still be sold at a profit at $66, including shipping. Emulation is not a dirty word. It is all about value and efficiency. People have been writing emulator programs to play classic video games long enough for those old emulators to actually be considered retro. The Super Nintendo and NES emulation scene really got going in the late 1990s. A big difference between FPGA and emulation is a concept of close enough. FPGA is slavishly accurate, but not that flexible. Meanwhile, emulation is close enough, but can do a heck of a lot of different systems running a lot of different games. But that doesn't mean that emulation isn't an excellent way to play retro video games, but the added flexibility through software results in a much more user-friendly experience than FPGA, which seems to have accuracy above all else, but comes a little Spartan sparse when it comes to the creature comforts that lead to a cozy gaming experience. Onion OS and why it is awesome. The real tangy, savory secret sauce to the Miyoo Mini is Onion OS. All open source software stands on the shoulders of prior projects and people that developed prior systems. The default software package from Miyoo is okay, but it had some performance issues at the start, and it is nowhere near as polished as Onion OS. There are individual emulator software cores running inside RetroArch on top of Linux with Onion OS as a front-end icing that ties all the software ingredients together and makes sure that they work with a high degree of polish and lubrication. There is an inherent simplicity and ease of use with Onion OS. So if you just want to pick the games and play them quickly and efficiently, you can do that. But if you really want to tweak RetroArch and want to mess with frame bufferings and auto skips and things like that, there's all the options that you could want under the hood for people who know what they're doing. Systems that it will play. The list of supported systems on Onion OS just keeps getting gnarly and bigger. They just added Pico 8 and Nintendo DS supports. And I haven't the time to fully wrap my head around how Nintendo DS games all work without a touchscreen by using the D-pad controlling a virtual stylus. On mine, I have Arcade, Atari 2600, Atari 5200, Atari 7800, Atari Lynx, CPS-1, CPS-2, CPS-3, ColecoVision, Famicom Disk System, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Game Gear, Sega Genesis, Nintendo DS, NES, Neo Geo Pocket, Neo Geo Arcade, PlayStation 1, Pokemon Mini, ports, SG-1000, Super Nintendo, Sega 32X, Sega CD, Sega Master System, Super Graphics, TurboGrafx 16, TurboGrafx CD, Virtual Boy, and the Wonder Swan. Personally, I think Neo Geo Pocket really shines on the Miyoo Mini Plus. It actually looks a lot better than real Neo Geo Pocket hardware, and I am glad that people are finally getting to play the games from this really great underappreciated retro system. There's actually a lot more consoles that I need to install, such as Game & Watch and Neo Geo CD. It's super easy to add systems in the package manager and then add some ROMs and BIOS files to get them working from your computer. The supported systems that I don't have installed but could easily install include Amstrad, Bandai Sufami Turbo, Commodore Amiga, Commodore 64, Commodore VIC-20, Fairchild Channel F, Vectrix, Magnavox Odyssey 2, Intellivision, Megaduck, MS-DOS, MSX, Nintendo Game & Watch, Nintendo Satellaview, Nintendo Super Game Boy, Pico 8, Philips Video Pack, Neo Geo CD, ZX Spectrum, TIC-80, and Watara Supervision. Onion OS can run systems that you probably never heard of, and that's rad because for some gamers, it is their favorite system. The whole purpose of retro games is to take you back to a simpler time, And this does it, both in by giving you the actual games, but the simplicity and reliability to do just that. If you are curious about getting a pocket-sized emulation handheld to play retro games on, then you can't go wrong with a Miyoo Mini Plus. I just want to give a shout out to Tech Dweeb and Retro Game Cores. They have both blazed the trail by reviewing hundreds of portable retro emulation devices. Both have been a huge inspiration for me in making this channel. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, we just want you to know that we make awesome videos like this each week. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. This is 8-Bit Joystick. Stay awesome. Play retro.